Hey everybody, welcome back to NOMA. I'm very excited to give you a quick preview of our upcoming Lee Friedlander in Louisiana exhibition. It opens on Friday and we are putting the finishing touches on it right now. Today's goal is to just kind of give you a quick overview of the four galleries and how we've broken up the show into different chapters. We're very excited. This is the first show to focus exclusively on Lee's work here in Louisiana and predominantly in the city, New Orleans. And it covers his 60-year career in the city. Lee Friedlander is one of the best-known living American photographers. Right now, he's been working in the city since 1957, when he came first as an employee of Atlantic Records to make portraits of jazz musicians for album covers. And we have a concurrent show in the Great Hall that's been open for about a month now of his color photographs of American musicians. So there's a lot to see here if you come to NOMA. This show begins with some of his earliest work. So this is largely the work that he did in the late 1950s and the early 1960s. And it focuses on early street photographs, second-line images, portraits of jazz musicians. So some of the things that you're seeing in here are the very earliest things that he made in the city, often represented in incredibly beautiful early prints, some that we have very happily borrowed from the Hogan Jazz Archive over at Tulane, and others that have come from wonderful private collections. We wanted this wall to kind of read in a way that kind of approximated the music that it's representing. So it does sort of open up. There are ways that you can sort of look at connections between the pictures and almost sort of read the pictures as a song, because in many ways Lee is following the music, he is following the parades, he's going to the jazz clubs, and the pictures kind of become an improvisational response to the music that he's listening to as he's making them. As we move through the exhibition, the second gallery really focuses on his work in the 1960s, which is where he started to transition to become a really important art photographer. This is when he was having work presented at the Museum of Modern Art in New York, and some of the images that became his most famous from those exhibitions were made here in Louisiana, and I think that will be a surprise to some people. Lee has always been a New Yorker, but his special connection to New Orleans has resulted in a number of pictures that I think many of us would agree are his best known and most iconic works. So in the second gallery, we take a deep look at his interest in reflections, in obstructions, in these kind of happy coincidences that happen in the world that he looks out for and records with the camera. In many cases, they're fun, they're humorous, they're critical. They look at the American social landscape in a very interesting way. And in other cases, they're downright optically confusing. In the second half of this gallery, we take a look at a number of his pictures of reflections in either mirrors or shiny street front windows. And this wall, I think, illustrates that body of work really nicely with these incredible pictures that don't seem as if they could have been taken straight from the street without any manipulation. And yet, that is in fact how they were produced. In the third and fourth galleries, we move into the 70s and all the way up into the 2000s. The third gallery really looks at his interest in American monuments, which was something that he's always been interested in his entire career. And in the late 1970s, one of his most famous books, The American Monument, came out with a number of images of New Orleans monuments in it. He never photographs those monuments the way that the sculptors or the city planners intended them to be seen. He always looks for a more oblique view, thinking about its relationship to its environment, and creating these sometimes critical, sometimes humorous placements and juxtapositions within the picture frame. In the third gallery, we also have a really wonderful focus on one particular building in New Orleans. It's the Plaza Tower, which he has photographed from 1973 all the way up to 2013. So we have an almost 40-year span of photographs represented of the same subject as it appears from different vantage points throughout the city, demonstrating how it's a permanent fixture in this landscape, but also demonstrating the different ways that Lee can make a picture and the different ways that he encountered this particular subject as he's wandering through the city. In the final room, That work really focuses on his much more recent work after he switched to a medium format, square format camera, which had a profound change on the way that he approached his subjects, more than simply the format of his picture from rectangular to square. It was also a wide-angle camera lens that flattens space even more radically. So as you look in that room, even though he's always been interested in creating pictures that are both documentary and artful, I think in that room he's really interested in exploring the phenomenon of photography and how the camera flattens out space in strange ways. They're very disorienting pictures, but I think in looking at them and in digging into them and kind of deciphering what it is we're looking at, the pictures kind of teach us how to look at photographs. So it's a really wonderful lesson in visual literacy for me. Join us tomorrow. We're going to be doing another one of these, focusing on a couple of specific pictures. And please come out on Friday. I'll be giving a larger walkthrough of the whole exhibition when it's completed. So we look forward to seeing you soon here at NOMA.